Hello YouTube, this is Josh from the Pantek brothers, and today my brother Chris has a video for you on an unboxing of the Google Onhub and his initial overview. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to him and let him show off the Google Onhub.
Hey everyone, Chris for another video. Today we have the Google Onhub Wi-Fi router. So I got this a couple days ago. I do already have an Onhub router. I just never produced a video on it. This is my second one. Google also has the Google Wi-Fi that they now offer, both in a single or a triple pack. Basically, those are mesh network. But thing is, Google also released an update to the Onhub, which supports that mesh network. So you could either add the Google Wi-Fi to the Onhub, or you can actually add a second Onhub to an already existing Onhub that you have. So I thought, well, why get the Google Wi-Fi when Onhub supports beefier hardware, has 13 antennas. It also offers AC 1900 versus 1200 from the Google Wi-Fi. So I figured that the performance will probably be better on the Onhub, but we'll get into the differences a little bit as I go through the unboxing here. So we do have just the box. It is, I would say, one of the big differences between Onhub and the Google Wi-Fi is sheer size. This is going to be much larger, something that's going to stand out more in your home, whereas the Google Wi-Fi is much slimmer, just similar to the Google Home where it's white. So we'll go ahead and just get this unboxed. I have already opened this. I actually recorded the video before, and then I accidentally deleted it off my camera, so we'll go with this for a second time. Then this just flips up via magnet, which is kind of a nice little touch. Then you're presented with the Onhub itself. I actually picked this up locally for ridiculously cheap from someone. They were selling it. So I advise you check locally, Craigslist, OfferUp, things like that, that people actually sell electronics and they don't know what to sell them for, so you can get good deals on. There's some foam right here, which is nice to kind of give it some cushion. You have two smaller boxes, larger box. You have your power brick. It uses just a standard 12-volt type plug. It's actually really big. That's one of the things I do not like about the Onhub, is this power brick is so large compared to my hand. That's going to take up like 2 to 3 outlets if you have a power strip. And if, let's say, you have this plugged into like a kitchen outlet or something like that, this really stands out when plugging in. The cable, sure, it's decently long. I would say maybe 6 feet or so, 5 feet. Still really large. Compared to the Google Wi-Fi, it's probably going to be much smaller, maybe like this big, like a standard phone, because the Google Wi-Fi uses USB-C to power it. And here you get your Ethernet cords. It comes with 2, which what I really like about them is, one, they're flat, so that gives it a nice aesthetic, plus they're very low profile Ethernet RJ45 ends here. Normal ones have much longer connectors on it, but they do that for a specific reason, being the Onhub requires what I mentioned about the RJ45 jacks and these Ethernet cords. This is, of course, like I said, the one you get 2 of these. You get that, and this is what you would call just a standard RJ45 Cat 5, Cat 6 type cable. So the difference, as you can see, is the bulkiness of all this extra protection, basically, of the cord versus the one that comes with the Google Onhub, as you can see there. So the reason why you are required to use the slim is because of that. When this shell goes on here, which there is Onhub branding, which you're then able to line up down here. You would slide this on. You can't because it hits this large cord in the back of it. So that's why you have to use the ones that are provided, which I like. And since now that I have two, if this is your second one, you would have 4 of these, which is a nice clean aesthetic for your network setup. I have my first Onhub hooked up to my modem, and then I have a 8-port gigabit switch, a TP-Link. You can use the Netgear because there's only one Ethernet port on here. So switch is going to be required if you're needing multiple. So here's the Onhub itself. This is the blue variant. Like I said, there's also a black one that they sell. The TP-Link, Asus also makes the Onhub as well. We have rubber down here at the bottom, and then a metal base. So this casing shell twists and pulls right off, and then you have just basically the internals. Then you have just some plastic to pull off there. Then you're presented with power port, reset button, USB, and there's also an internet and Ethernet port as well. USB port is disabled, so it's inactive, so you can't really use it for a network drive or anything like that. Hopefully this is something that people have been touting for the longest time, ever since this came out. Has tons of hardware, but it's just inactive. So hopefully Google pushes updates to allow some more features, which would be nice. Up here you have just some ventilation holes. Also there's a speaker built in here, and there's a multicolor LED light surrounding this top ring right in here, which gives you a status of your network. So that light that I mentioned, that was on the top, on the front up here. So that's an indicator light. There's this little card at the top. Basically, of course, if there's no light, there's no power to it. When it's blue, it means that the Onhub is ready to be set up. When it's the teal color, internet is working, it's active, there's nothing wrong. And then when it's this amber type red orange color, that means network's down, something's wrong. And also you can dim that within the app. What we'll need to do is get this set up. Now, since I've already set this up, your setup is going to be different. What you'll need to do, what I ran into when I first did the video, you're going to have to connect this. If, let's say, you already have a Google Onhub and you want to add this, a second one, to create that mesh network, you're going to have to disconnect your current Onhub from your modem and power it down and connect this as if it was a brand new Onhub, as if you didn't have one. So this will be technically like your first one in the setup. Then, in order to do that, go through the setup. This is required in order for the firmware to be downloaded onto this. That way it'll support the mesh network, because when these were produced and shipped out, they didn't have the new firmware installed on them. So it has to be installed for it to support the mesh network ability. And then once that's done, you'll have to factory reset this to then set it up as a mesh network add-on. So that's what's required. Hardwired connections up. So we're going to go ahead and get into the setup of this. Go ahead and download the Google Wi-Fi app from your Play Store or the App Store, I guess. Go ahead and open that. You're going to need to use the app to set it up. So we're going to go ahead and set up Wi-Fi point. Like I mentioned before, if you don't already have a pre-existing Onhub, then you need to actually set this Onhub up first as your primary one, and then factory reset it once the firmware gets updated. We're going to go ahead and set up Wi-Fi point. You're going to need to be next to your Onhub. So since this is going to be part of my mesh network, what you're going to want to do is put this kind of halfway in between of where you're extending it to. That way it has a good strong connection to the main Onhub, but yet not a weak enough signal to where your speeds and the connection isn't going to be that great. We're going to go ahead and, since we're selecting adding it to our pre-existing network, see, place your Wi-Fi point. We're going to just go ahead and next, power it on. We're going to be putting this in the dining room. Alright, so you actually do need to turn on Bluetooth and location services. Step completed. Alright, so I was looking for the device now. Since the Onhub does have Bluetooth, that's what it's going to use to help connect and get it set up. It's going to actually play a sound for it to identify the specific device. Alright, so it's found it. See, it says get close. Alright, so you can see that we got it now finally. It's adding the Wi-Fi point for that mesh network. The reason why I went with a second Onhub compared to Google Wi-Fi is because of the additional antennas. Since it does have 13, it supports the 1900 AC like I'd already mentioned. Just more beefier hardware. Why am I going to spend $130 on a Google Wi-Fi when you can probably get an Onhub for just about the same price, if not cheaper? That sound is that it's basically just finished setting it up. So one thing I really hope Google can do with this Onhub is, since there is a speaker built into it, I really hope that they can push a firmware update to allow it to be used as like a speaker for Google Home and things like that, instead of having to purchase either a Chromecast audio or things like that, that these Onhubs could act as speakers for your house. That would be really cool. Again, there's a lot of smart home stuff integrated into this Onhub. It's just not activated. We'll get into some of the software as far as the app goes, what you can do with this and with the Google Wi-Fi itself. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and test mesh network now. My house is very small for what I'm needing this for. These Onhubs can cover up to about 3,500 square feet with just a single one. So two of them, Google support, when I contacted them a while back, said they would be about good for about 7,000 feet, which is huge amount of space. So if you're in an apartment, condo, you're gonna have a huge strong signal compared to other people. That's what the 13 antennas are for. One is to search out for nearby Wi-Fi networks and to determine which channel to set your network to, your Wi-Fi channel. This does support 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz as well. It's all in one network, one SSID. So there's not two networks. It's all one, and it automatically selects the best one for that device, and if that device even supports 5 gigahertz or not. So we are then presented with the app. Here on this panel is usually where you get all your notifications as far as if, let's say, something's wrong or if there's an update to the firmware. Things like that. It'll show you the release notes here. Brought to your internet panel, basically. We have the internet section. It gives you a history of an average on a daily basis, basically, or a weekly basis of your internet speeds, and then your usage, real time, or you can choose basically a period of time, let's say on a monthly basis, 30 days. This would be good for people if you are on an internet service provider that limits your data on a monthly basis, gives you a pool of data, let's say a terabyte, for example. That's a lot, but still, you can still burn through that. This will be able to help you monitor how much data you've used on a network basis, not so much on a specific device. there's apps, of course, you can install on your phone, on your computer that help track how much data that device has used. But this, as a whole, helps you keep track of what network usage you've used. We can go here to your Wi-Fi points. All right, so we see that the Onhub primary Wi-Fi point, and then your dining room, that where we just installed this latest one. We're gonna go ahead and you can test the mesh network, and you can also test internet speeds all from the app itself, which is very convenient. You don't have to install like a speed test app, that sort of thing. All right, everything looks good, cool. We're gonna go ahead and just test the Wi-Fi now. I originally had the second Onhub in the kitchen, underneath like the cabinets in the corner, but it had a very poor connection to the other Onhub, so I moved it over to the dining room, which made the connection much stronger, and also the speeds were much better as well. So there's that. Here you can check for updates, it gives you the release notes here as well. This one right here is the big update that enabled the mesh network. You can see here, you can also change the brightness of the LED light that's on top in case if it's in an area where you don't want it to be very bright, you can do that. You can restart it, factory reset it all from here. And down here on devices, you can see all the list of devices that are connected to your network. So we have all the lists there, things like that. You can prioritize devices for a specific time. Let's say if you're wanting to stream Netflix at Ultra HD resolution, you can prioritize that specific device for a period of time. Things like that. Let's say this is my Sony device that I'm using. I did a review on the Sony Xperia X Compact. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a link down in the description. So we have the data usage between December 18th till today, that 30-day period. So back to that whole limited data from your ISP. This is going to be good for you to keep track of what devices have used up your data. So if let's say you're limited to 30 gigs of data a month, and you go through that 30 gigs, let's say halfway through the month, usually internet providers either then throttle your data or require you to purchase more. At least this, you're going to be able to see, okay, which specific app, not so much app, which specific device has been using up that data. So if let's say you have a computer or something that's downloading a lot of updates, or if you have a child that's watching a lot of Netflix, YouTube, things like that, you can kind of see that here and see how much usage they use on a daily basis, things like that. And then the important stuff that you have over here. So you have your network check, of course. You can check different things of your internet. Prioritize device, we already went through. You can easily show your password. This does support guest networks, so that way the guest network or any other family members, visitors that visit you, they don't have access to your intranet and other important things that you may have on your network. You can easily share the password, things like that. Network settings, you can also set up your DNS, port forwarding, static IP, things like that. DNS, you can set it to automatic or use your own custom, depending if you have something like that set up. There's UPnP. So if you are a very tech-savvy person, heavy into networking, if you need the advanced settings, this is not going to be for you. This is going to be someone who just wants your Wi-Fi to work and never have to worry about it. It's very easy to use, easy to set up. Literally, you install it and it does everything for you. So this isn't going to be like those Asus Nighthawk, those gaming routers, things like that, that have ton of features that have the ability to access network drives that you have hooked up to it and things like that. One of the downsides, but again, this is targeted at a different market, a different audience than those other ones. So you can set people to manage the network as well. So if, let's say, you have another family member, things like that, they can also have this installed on their device and be able to access settings and things like that. You can turn off usage stats that are sent to Google, things like that. You can receive notifications, emails. If, let's say, you're out and about and your internet goes down, you receive an email basically saying, hey, your network's down, things like that. Nice feature, so that way if, let's say, you're out of town, then you're going to be able to know, well, your internet's down. You can then contact your internet provider and let them know, things like that. You have family Wi-Fi control, which allows you to, if, let's say, you have kids, this is the example Google uses, which would probably be the main use case a lot of parents may have. If you have kids and if they're on their devices, they're not coming to dinner, you can pause internet access to a specific device, and you can also create groups. So if, let's say, your child has multiple devices, you can pause all of the devices for that one person, which is pretty cool. And lastly, you have the home control, which they did push an update several months ago to allow the Onhub to control Philips Hue light bulbs. So you're going to be able to access that here. You can integrate the Onhub with If That Then This app. The Google Wi-Fi allows you to have certain actions be performed when something happens. So that's what that app is for. I believe Stringify is another one that allows it. They have not yet officially integrated SmartThings, Samsung SmartThings, into the Onhub, which I'm really looking forward to if they ever do that. But the IFTTT, check that out. They have integration there. And then you have your guest network here. You can share it or reveal it. So again, this is just the overview of the Google Onhub router and getting the mesh network set up. Definitely, I recommend, if you get stuck, contact Google. They have a quick Wi-Fi care support option right here. You can call them. Super friendly people, so helpful and patient. When I first got the second Onhub router, I tried setting up like normal without updating the firmware. It failed. I knew I probably just had to plug it into my modem and get it set up that way and update the firmware, but I called them just to confirm, just to make sure there was nothing else I needed to do. They just gave me the steps real quick. They're open 24/7. It's not like you're not going to get a foreign, hard to understand person. I've been able to speak to people that are very, very kind, easily understandable. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, of course, like I've mentioned in every other video, leave them down below. I really want to hear your feedback. If you guys have questions, I want to be able to interact with you all. If you want to know anything, feel free to ask. If you want to see a certain video, I will do my very best to produce that. I really appreciate you guys for watching my content. And also, please like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.